What's your personal opinion on the Turin Shroud?
Ah,
Opinions are divided on it. So what do you think?
yeah. I don't, I lecture on the Shroud once in a while because I co-authored two books on the Shroud. And my co-author, Ken Stevenson, was one of the scientists. He was a professor at our Air Force Academy, and he was one of the American scientists. They weren't all American. Some of them were some Italian scientists, but a group went over from the U.S. to Italy in 1978 and did a very in-depth scientific interview. My co-author was one of them. And so I give lectures on it. I got really good slides because they're scientific slides, ultraviolet, X-ray, thermography, just all kinds of things. And so somebody will say, well, so what do you believe about the shroud? And I'll say, I'm kind of being facetious, but I'll say, well, I don't know. Depends on what kind of day it is. If it's summertime and I'm warm, I'm probably 90%. If
Okay.
it's wintertime and it's cold and I'm having a bad day, it's like 75%.
Okay.
And they all laugh, and I'll say, but that's the point. My views go up and down depending on the data because that's what science is like. So I think there's a good chance. I'm not dogmatic. The
Sure.
shroud might turn out to be fake, and I'll make some of my shroud friends upset by saying that. But data could come up like that. But right now, the evidence is strongly in his favor. And the interesting thing is that the shroud is a piece of cloth with an image of a dead man front and back who was crucified. And by far the leading scientific, the testing that has been done since 1978, right up until recently, is that the image on the cloth is caused by radiation. Here's the problem. How do you get radiation from a dead body?
Dead body.
There are
Yeah.
hundreds of burial garments in existence, mostly in Europe, in museums. But there are hundreds of burial garments in existence from a long time. But none of them have body images. They might have blood stains, they might have decomposition, but they don't have images. And there's a body image very clear of this man. The scientific, the medical people say that it's very exact, anatomically accurate. And how do you get an X-ray coming out of a dead body of a crucified man?
Yeah.
And right now, I know for a fact they are doing some further experimentation to argue a tighter scientific argument that the image on the shroud was caused by radiation.
Wow.
And if it is, you put radiation on the shroud, the historical evidence for the resurrection, near-death experiences which say there's another world, intelligent design, which make a lot of, by the way, intelligent design and fine-tuning arguments that say this world is just right for life. Hugh Ross, he's a Canadian astrophysicist to California. He told me years ago, that guy reads everything in his field. And he told me about 3 years ago, he said in the last 3 years of all my reading, he said, as far as I know, I've not read an astrophysicist in the world today who does not admit either that he or she has either become a deist and believes in God, or they are open to believing in God, one or the other. Now,
That's
you put
amazing.
all that together, you got fine-tuning and intelligent design, looks like at least God is at least possible. You have near-death experiences which say probably there's some kind of afterlife. So now you got Bertrand Russell saying God and afterlife. You got both. You got resurrection. Possibly, I'll just say possibly, radiation from a dead crucified body that looks like Jesus. You put all that together, and it's no wonder Christians are gaining confidence, and it's no wonder, frankly, that a lot of atheists are getting kind of angry today. They're getting tired of being told they're
It's
wrong.
true. It's true.
But
Yeah.
try to refute the data.
Could you confirm something for me? I've heard regarding the Turin Shroud that there were coins placed on the eyes of Jesus and they were minted at the time
Yeah.
of Pilate. Is that true?
Yeah. It depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
Now, see, this shows you that I'm trying to be real objective.
Sure.
The problem with the coins on the eyes is that they show up in a series of photographs taken in 1931. These are called the Unrié photos. They're harder to determine in the 1978 photos where they did the investigations. even before they did the 78 photos, there was a series of essays edited by my co-author, Ken Stevenson. They're scientific essays. And they said, looks like there's coins over the eyes. And they said that before they even did it. So the science is kind of, I don't know what the percentage is. Some of the scientists are sure there's coins on the eyes. And some, they don't, it's not so much they say no, they just say, yeah, it's not specific enough to tell. But there's close-up photos. And the photos that I've seen that I use in my lectures, you can see lettering on them. And that's where they get the lepton of Pontius Pilate, minted between 29 and 32 AD. Now, here's a little aside. Josh McDowell is a good buddy of mine. He's a good friend. But he published an essay, I think 1982, and he said, those guys who minted those coins must have been drunk because they misspelled Tiberius Caesar's name. And you can see on the coin, there is a misspelling. And he said, that to me argues that the shroud's a fake because the name for Tiberius Caesar is misspelled. Guess what? Since that time, they've found, I have the numismatic article from a numismatic publication that has nothing to do with Christianity. They have found a half dozen of these leptons now with the same misspelling in them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it still doesn't prove the shroud, but it sure closes that gap and makes you wonder.